Hello, Zodians. Welcome back to our last session of a day. If you truly ask me, I'm tired. Maybe if I have an option, I don't even want to continue this session. Continue this session. The time is 3:04. 1 घंटे बाद हमें मिलना था, हम 1 घंटे बाद मिल चुके हैं। 2 बजे हमारा लास्ट सेशन खत्म हुआ था, 3 बजे हम दोबारा से आ गए हैं अगले सेशन के लिए। 3 से 5 बजे तक ये सेशन होगा एंड सी वेयर इट गो। I'll try my best to complete this chapter today and attend the test today. If my reading is complete, क्योंकि 10 से 12 पेजेस आई थिंक सो मेरे को लगता है अभी पढ़े हैं, तो इट्स डिपेंड हाउ फास्ट द रीडिंग इज कंप्लीट. After reading, if the test is complete, I'll try my best to explain also. Because if I explain also, the chapter start today and it's end today. So that's the good point, right? So let's go. Start our session without wasting our time. Let's go, brother. Let's go. Even though I'm tired, but I still choose to continue that. Let's see how the session go. Maybe it's the best session till now, or maybe it's the worst session. Don't judge, just focus on the study. Let's go, brother, without wasting our time. मैं फटीक छे इस टाइम पे मेंटल फटीक छो लेट्स गो basically मैं 14 15 20 26 the research and related evidence that you can use microscope evidence base more than 450 microscope research study have been conducted every and dynamic 2016. The model has been tested national and international in more than 1,000 clients. Clinical and teaching program. Micro-counseling was the first systematic based counseling model to identify specific observer constants. It was it was almost the first training program that emphasized multicultural issues. Some of the most valuable research findings include the following. You can expect result from microscale training. Several critical reviews are found micro training and effective training for teaching skills to wide variety of people range from beginning interviewers to counselor to experts. Professionals who need to relate who need to relate to clients more effectively, teaching your clients many of the micro skills facilitate their personal growth and ability to communicate with their email or coworkers, families and coworkers. Families or coworkers, the formal term for including teaching in your interview is psychoeducation. Most chapters of this book will contain discussion of psychoeducation microscale in the active section. Practice is essential. Practice is the skill. Practice is the skill to master the skill of gained and used after training. Use it or lose it. Completely practice exercise. Practice exercises and generalize what you learn to learn. Whenever possible, audio or record your practice session. Multicultural differences are free. People from different culture ethnicity will stand different pattern of skill usage. Learn about people different from you, and use skill in the culture appropriate manners. Different counseling theory have a varying patterns of skill usage. Expect person-centered counseling to focus almost exclusively on listening skill, where cognitive behavior use more influence. Microskill expertise will help you define your own theory and integrate it with your natural style. If you use specific microskill, then you can expect a client to respond anticipatory, anticipatively. You can anticipate how the client will respond to use of each one, but each client is culture intentionality. Intentionality prepare you for the unexpected and teaches you to flex with another way of responding of another microscope. Neuroscience and brain research now support clinical and research experience with the microscope. Through this book, we will provide data from neuroscience and brain research. This research explains and clarify much of what counseling and psychotherapy have always done, and at the same time increase the quality and precision of our practice. Most actors will follow a model similar to this, although some are organized differently to meet the need of the particular particular state area. The early chapter provide the foundation and the basic understanding are organized independently by the chapter. Typically follow this model from time to time. You will see a multiple applications as a supplement to some chapters. We offer this learning framework because you can go through this quickly and understanding them, but practicing them to a fully mastery is what we want. We have seen many students burst through the skill, but with the little in the way of actual competence, teaching this skill to clients has also proven to be an effective counseling and therapeutic. The micro skill in 2016 Harry Serpent and Daniel Invest. The micro skill of this book are key to developing an empathic relationship, drawing out the client stories issues. Ensure that changing and growth will be the result of your conversation with your client and encourage client to develop self-healing, the capacity to apply what they have learned with you to other situations. Box 1.2. Summarize more than 450 database. Studies on the microscale framework now used in thousands of cities around the world. Counseling and psychotherapy theory and the microscope. All counseling theory use the microscope, but in the varying pattern with different groups. See the table one. To master of skill very clarity, master of the skill facilitate your ability to work with many theoretical alternatives. The microscale framework can also be considered a theory in itself in which way. Microscale pattern of different approach. Into the seasonal counseling, personal counseling, logic. Medium. Counselor, action, and take. Top time. Medium, low, medium, medium, high, high. Medium, 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 high, high. Problem solving, self actualization, relationship, value, meaning, vision for life. How CEC impact client, immediate action, meeting challenge, thought, behavior, problem solving, strength and goals, unconscious motivation, unconscious motivation, here, behavior, problem solve, diagnostic, microscale need, issue of meanings, topic, keywords likely to be attained, reinforced, microscale needs, decision counseling, personal centered, Logo therapy, multicultural and feminist therapy, crisis counseling, cognitive behavior therapy, grief counseling, motivational interviewing, counseling, psychotherapy, just just business problem solving, medical diagnosis, open question. Open question, close question, encourage phase, reflection of feelings, summarization, reflection of meaning, interpretation, reasoning, logical consequences, self-disclosure, feedback, instructions, psychoeducation, direct, combined skill, client, name them, others, families, nature, counselor therapy, culture, environmental context, issue of meaning, topic, words likely to be attained. Counselor and client work together. Counselor and client work together to enable the construction of new stories accompanied by changes. Accompanied by changes in mood and action and thought. In short, if you become competent in this thought, research, test, multiple planning, and complexity around the world, you will have a proficiency that will take you in another direction. You don't have to be, but also and many others. Counseling and psychotherapy. Counseling and psychotherapy will be increasingly informed by research in neuroscience, and you will want to keep abreast of new developments. Relevant studies and implications from practice will be presented or no thought out. Throughout this book, neuroscience and brain research will lead us to major changes in the way we think about the counseling and psychotherapy in the next 10 years. Enable us to use the skill of this book in new ways, considerable awareness and precision. Neuroscience and neurobiology, implication of cutting edge science for the future of counseling and psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is a biological treatment of brain therapy. It produced natural physical changes in your brain, not just some our interaction with the client changed their brain in not too distinct future. Counseling will be regarded as ideal. Reaching no longer can we separate the body from the mind or the individual from his or her environmental culture. Counseling and psychotherapy are moving closer to a medicine, neurology, and cognitive science. Counselor once argued against the medical model influenced by a preventive medicine, accountability, and neuroscience researcher. However, physician, physicians are increasingly aware that what happens in the body is deeply influenced by the mind. And the counseling and therapy field has laid this stage consequences, consequences, consciousness, consciousness through effective helping skill and strategies. For example, many medical schools have adopted some versions of the listening skill of this book as an essential part of education, listening development, relationship. Encourage our client or patient to become more resilient both mind and body. Furthermore, neuroscience information has become a constant, so expect your client to be informed and ask questions about how counseling affects the brain. Paradox 4 contain a brief but comprehensive summary of a key information on a neuroscience biology. Please refer to this for more detailed information. As you read through the text, you can see Ellen and Mary's page with the PowerPoint on the elementary basic of neuroscience by inserting the Alinea in the YouTube search field. Brain plasticity. Whether in interviewing counseling or psychotherapy, the conversation changed the brain through the development of a new neural networks. This example of a brain plastic and neurogenesis. Neurogenesis. Throughout our lives, we are adding and losing many millions of neurons, snaps, synapses, and neural connection. Effective counseling and therapy develop useful new neuroscience and neural connection in the brain, both your own and your clients. Brain functions can be measured through a variety of a brain image technique, most notable function magnetic res- resonance image fMRI. Testing 2008, but I'm positive 2014. Neuroplastic can result in the wholesale remodeling of neural network. A brain can rewire itself. Schwartz and Baker, 2003, Part 16. If we are indeed affection, the brain in all our sessions, then phase neuroscience can help us understand a bit more of what is happening between counselor and client. But there is also a negative plasticity, the loss of neural network and the neuroscience associated with stress, with the hunger, poverty, bullying, or many type of cons. The brain and stress. Some 80% of medical issues involve the brain and stress. Terry and Manning, 2014. You will find that in one way or another, the vast majority of your work is counseling and psychotherapy, include stress and underlying issues. Resolving stress is critical in a many style of treatment. The evidence is clear that stress management and therapeutic lifestyle change, see chapter 2, are effective rooted toward both mental and physical health necessary regardless of your counseling style, or choose theoretically stress and stressful stressful event leave a marked imprint on the brain. We need some stress for learning and for physical growth. Some people have compared the brain to muscle. If it doesn't get exercise, it top top size. But like a muscle, it can be overstressed, which can result in damage and loss of neurons. Figure 1.3 show. The brain under aversion condition compared with the relative absence of stress. Oh, कौन मैंने पता लगा aversion condition किए थे neutral condition conditions को stress किया aversion condition stress पर मानते हैं 5.5 the brain under aversion hormones release more patches. At another level, you find stress evolved in a virtual all of the issues. Client face, admission to college, career choice, financial issues, and copy with the tackle of gender harassment are what many would term normal concerns. But these do not feel normal to our stressed and worried. Listening to client stories is our first avenue to establishing an authentic relationship and understanding. The client neuroscience research on the brain has become a practical influence on our understanding of our physical and mental health. Neuroscientists and even genetics researchers have says the importance of prevention and the key role of stress management. In this new argument, counseling skills and strategies remain first line necessities. We need to listen answers to clients' stories, join them in their view of the world, and work with them on the regulatory bias toward growth, development, and action. But we now can do this with the solid scientific base. Our neuroscience findings reveal that many of the traditional approach are effective and upgraded. As you read the following chapter, a few brain basics will help you locate and understand how the brain relates to the counseling process. Throughout this book, we will provide further information concerning area of neuroscience, neurobiology, the inform and clarify our patient practice. Many of you will find a new vocabulary here, but this language will become far more commonplace and important in daily use in a decade to come. Again, we suggest that you periodically explore appetites or neuroscience, neurobiology as your encounter term or concept that you feel need further explanation. Do not worry. Always learn the meaning of the new word at this time. Gradually, over time, they will become part of your counseling vocabulary. There are a number of other reasons why neuroscience and study the brain will become more critical in the future. There are just a few. But, National Institute of Mental Health plans to institute our brain-based approach to counseling and therapy within the next 10 to 20 years. Well, within the time you will be practicing this will replace our diagnostic and statistic a mental disorder, DSM, with the total new approach, one that is more amenable to the goal of the counseling process. It will be helpful if you take a few moments to visit your browser and search for name research topic materials. The NIM approach integrates neuroscience and neurobiology with the medical counseling and therapy development psychology. Multicultural issue and multiple science bold clinic categories will be travel and possible eliminate. Diagnosis will be multi-dimensional and will lead to treatment recommendation involving physician, counselor and therapist, and a human service profession. The media are full of new development and neuroscience. Many of your clients will know this field through a general reading and expect you to be knowledge as well. It is the best that you develop a basic understanding phrase, even including the availability of a picture of the brain and body in your works. You will find like us the knowledge of neuroscience and the brain enable you to be more skillful practitioner. Currently, all three authors of this book consistently think of how the client brain and our own is influenced by an interview transcript in this time discuss how the client brain is likely reaching to helping information. We find that as a result of neuroscience biology, our work is more precise and successful. Neuroscience will improve your practice. Neuroscience is stimulating and interesting with consistent new development. Once one learns some basic vocabulary, it becomes fun and enjoyable. Reflective exercise. How does neuroscience speak to you? The idea of the brain being central in the counseling practice is relatively new. In fact, the first conference presentation on the topic was when Ellen spoke to the American Counseling Association in Hawaii in 2006. And this counseling context was the first to give special attention on neuroscience. There has been an immense gain in awareness and acceptance since that time. Some of you have taken biology or psychology, particularly social psychology, that speak with the sophistication about the brain and its structure. For others, this will be new topic with new vocabulary. Here are some questions to consider. How do you react to the introduction presented? Do you agree the neuroscience and the brain are relevant to your work as counselor or psychotherapist? Will you speak to expand your knowledge of neuroscience and neurobiology? Not think seek. Office, community, phone, and internet. Where do we meet? Regardless of physical setting, you as a person can light up room, stress corner, even the internet. Smiling and warm, friendly voice make up for many challenging issues. This is how you are, rather than where you first. Let's recognize the interviewing and counseling occur in many places other than our former office. There are street counselors who work with youth organization, homeless shelter, and the school, as well as those who work for the court, who go out into the community and get to know the clients. Counseling, interviewing, and therapy can be very informal, taking place in a client home or neighborhood, coffee shop, or a nearby park, or while they play basketball or just hang out on the street corner. The office may not exist, or it may be merely a cubicle in a public agency where the counselor can make phone call, receive mail, and work at a computer, but not necessarily the place where he or she will meet and talk with the client. The office is really a metaphor for your physical bearing and dress. Smiling culturally appropriate eye contact, a relaxed and friendly novel style. And the school counselor, Mary Bart Ford, he learned early on that if she want to concern recent immigration Cambodian families. Home visit were essential. She sat on the floor as the family. She attended culture event and cooked Cambodian Cambodian food and attended wedding. She brought the Cambodian princess into the school to bless the opening ceremonies. She provided translator for the parents so they could communicate with their teacher. With the teacher, she worked with school and community officials to advocate for the special needs of these immigration. The place of counseling and developing your reputation as a helper is widely maintaining a pleasant office is important but not enough. Another approach also used by Mary is consider the client cliently like to come to your setting. Working in a school setting, she sought to display objects and artworks representing various races and ethnicities. The brightness of the artwork worked well with the children, and many parents commented favorable on seeing their culture represented. Most important, make sure that nothing in your office can be considered objectionable by any of those. So, phone, Skype, and internet counseling. Historical time says has been keeping the boundaries between counselor and client as clear and separate as possible, but there seemed to be a changing where once a therapist was picky and psychological unseen, you as a person have become more important as the centrality of the fifth stage of interaction and is recognized as a increase. Singly critical to client change, many counselors are now using smartphones so that client can follow up with them or ask questions. That smoking, alcohol, or drugs is being able available can make a significant difference. However, this is also a what practical and ethical issues. You and the client both lost privacy. Our communication will be honest and confident. Maybe in general, Skype and other visual phone service partially answer this question, but they are still not the same as face-to-face relationship. Enter online counseling in your research engine as a number of a surveys with peer forums composed result with Ellen will visit to several online services, meeting life-changing history, internet counsel center, enable you to talk with a real-life professional counseling or 24/7 confidential. Choose a first session is easy payment arrangement. We expect that more and more of these services will appear on the internet, particularly now that a degree of face-to-face interaction is available on the phone and on. Some of these services may be quite helpful to clients and reasonable cost, but others may be risky now so for coaching service. and you will find an amazing array possibilities. However, we all the sites with some attention of our ethical and professional standards can be made for distance credential concept is a national credential currently offered by the Center of the Credential Education. Holder of this credential Aadhaar to the National Board for Certified Counselor Code of Ethics and the ethical requirement for the practice of internet counseling. Profession adapt the counseling service for the delivery to client via technology assistant method, including a telecounseling, secure email communication, chat, video conference, and other operates of HTTP to Zooks, literal zooks, getting zora, literal professional association are still working on this new approach of counseling delivery as with all type of counseling and therapy methods is the first concern in chapter 2 and expand in our next second. We present some basic issues in ethics. You will also find internet links to professional ethics of the main national headline organization. Your natural helping style, establishing your base. At the beginning of this chapter, you are asked to give your own response to seeming multiple issues. Your response reflects you and your world. You are of micro scale and five stage structure must be authentic. You adopt a response simply because it has been recommended. It will likely be impactful for both you and your client. Not all part of training framework or approach for everyone. You have a natural style of communication, and these concepts should supplement your style and who you are learning these new skills, strategies, and concepts. But be yourself and make your own authentic decision for practice. Also develop awareness of natural style and natural style of the client whom you work practice, particular if they are culture different from you. What is this experience like for you? What do you notice about your client's style of communication? Use your observation to expand your competence and later add new methods and information to your notion style. Important audio or a video exercise. We believe this following is one of the most central exercises. Find someone who is willing to role play a client with a decision that need to be made, concern or issue, or an opportunity. Interviewing or a practice counseling that client for at least 15 minutes using your own natural style. Read page 28 to 30 of chapter 2 and following of our ethic guidelines as you work with the volunteer client. May I recover this session? May record this session. Also inform the client that the video and audio record may be turned off at any time. Common sense demand ethical practice and respect for the client. Video with feedback from our colleagues and our clients is the preferred way to examine your counseling style. Many of you will have either a small video recorder or a video capable camera. Video make it is video makes it possible for us to discover what we are rarely doing, not just what we think we are doing. Feedback from other helpers Evaluate both our strength and this and the area where we might benefit from further. Your client can select almost any topic for the season, a friend or classmate. The discussion, a school or job problem may be appropriate. A useful topic might be some type of interpersonal, such as the concern of a family's tension or decision about a new job opportunity. When you have finished, ask your client to fill out a client feedback form. 1.3 practice session. Always seek immediate feedback from a client's classmates or colleagues. We suggest that you use the client feedback form for this purpose with your own adaptation and changes on your practice session. You may also find it helpful to continue using this form or some adaptation in your work in the helping profession. Professional counselor, therapists seldom offer their client an opportunity to provide them with the feedback into the interest of a more elegant video session. Consider this type of feedback from your client as a regular part of your patient practice. We ourselves have learned value and surprisingly through feedback, particularly when we may have missed something. Please transcribe the audio or video for later study and analysis. You want to compare your first performance with the practice session, ideally with another more detailed analysis transcript and self-evaluation at the end of the course of a study. And photocopy the client feedback from here, occasionally adding specific items for the individual clients. Many enable them to write things that they find difficult to put into the words. Self-assessment. Review your audio or video recording and ask yourself and the volunteer following questions. Include your thoughts about these questions in the portfolio of the competence. We build on our strength. What did you do right in this session? What did the client notice as what stands out for you from the client feedback? What stands out for you from the client feedback? What was the essence of the client story? How did you help the client figure out his or her narrative issues? How did you demonstrate intentionality when something you said did not come as anticipated? What did you do? How did you experience the session? How authentic and genuine did you feel? Name just one thing which you would like to improve in the next session. You have what action will you like? What you like? What action will you take? People, it's the art of applying the task, taking action as you work through this. Welcome to the fascinating field of counseling and psychotherapy. You are being introduced of a basic of an individual counseling session, but the same skills are essential in a group and family groups. The therapist skills are essential whether you find yourself in a school or a university or a community mental health clinic or hospital or a private practice. The micro skill framework has been taught throughout the world of businesses, law, medicine, and used by UNC, UNC and other with disaster survivors, research and aids, workers These skills are also basic to personal communication. They can make a difference not only in our client lives but also in your own relationship. The first chapter frames entire the following key points are what we practice, particularly want to know. The first competence practice exercise in this chapter asks you to examine yourself and identify your strategies as a help. And you are a person who count and we hope that you will develop your counseling skill based on your natural experience, expertise, and social skills. We hope that you enjoy the journey. Following is the summary of awareness knowledge, skill and action that you may want to take. Interview, counseling, and psychotherapy. These are interlinked process that sometimes overlapping interviewing may be considered the most basic. It is often associated with the information gathering and providing necessary data to help client resolve issue. Counseling focus on a normal development, concern or adjustment issue, where psychotherapist emphasizes treatment of more deep-seated, but the overlap is considerable, and we will see therapists engaged in counseling and counseling active active in psychotherapy. The concept of coaching has not yet received full attention within the counseling field, but it is positive orientation and its campaigns on how discover of value and how on highly consistent with the traditional traditions of counseling. The field of counseling and therapy is now well supported by empirical research. Therapy works more recently in neuroscience finding have added to our understanding, solidifying counseling as a scientist undertaking. Nonetheless, it is counselor or therapist who effectively implicate the many aspects of researcher and theory creatively apply this field finding to the seek their feedback to improve efficiency, effectiveness. Counseling is science and the evidence base for effectiveness in helping others is strong. Nonetheless, is a counselor and psychotherapy who take the science, the evidence base, and microscope into a concrete practice, placing various oils on a painting is an art based on specific skill. However, this is the artist who arrange the element into a creative challenge for you as an artist is to take a scientific side of counseling and psychology, facilitate the growth of your brand. Culture intention. The culture intentional counselor or a therapist act with a sense of a capability and flexible in our deciding from among a range of alternative options. If a helping if a helping lead still doesn't work, try another. Resilience and self actualization. A major object of counseling and psychotherapy is enabling clients to find their own direction and enhance their potential. Self actualization requires resistance, resilience, and the ability to rebound from the inevitable stress to what challenges we all face. Microscale and microscale hierarchy. Microscale are a single communication skill until, for example, personal or reflecting of feeling. They are taught one at a time to ensure master of basic counseling and therapy competence. Microscale hierarchy organized. Microscale into a systematic. framework on the eventual integration of skill. In a natural fashion, the micro skill rests on a foundation of multicultural competence, ethic positive psychologies, resilience, and neuroscience. The attending and listening skill are followed by forming by focusing on confirmation influence skill, integration of skill, and your own analysis of your personal style, intervene counseling and psychotherapy. All counseling therapy use the microscope with variation, varying pattern, and mastery of the skill, ability and capacity to work with many theoretical neuroscience, neurobiology. Newer research in this area indicate that virtual all of the counseling and psychotherapy is valid and on the right track, particularly important neuroplasticity wiring of the brain. Successful therapy may be expected to help clients develop a new neural connection. Neuroscience and neurobiology will lead us to deeper understanding of the importance of helping clients deal with stress, which can be helpful for learning and action, is a real concern. When one is overstressed, dangerous thoughts can build up and injury neurons and neural network. The additional to normal stress such as separation, failing, or even choosing a college stress underlies most diagnostic categories in athlete. Those stress magnetics become a central issue in virtual all counseling and therapy. Place where we meet interviewing and counseling occur in many places other than a formal office. Many services are also offered by our internet, virtual helpline style. Microskills are useful only if you harmon- harmonics with your own natural style. Audio or video record a session with a friend or a classmate to make a save or transcript later. As you learn more about session and analyzing your counseling practice, continually examine and study your behavior. You'll want to compare this first interview with your performance in another recording some month from now. Portfolio of competence and personal reflection. Additional resources can be found by going to the singerbrain.com and log into the Mind tab course. Created by your professor, there you will find a variety of study tools and useful resources that will be quiz, video, interactive counseling, and exercise. Case studies the portfolio of the competence and goal. Developing a portfolio of a competence, intermediate. Developing a portfolio competence, your intermediate. We recommended that you develop a portfolio of competence as a journal of your path through these schools and your reflection on your place in the first week. This portfolio is a way of putting together what you have learned and your counseling practice. Students have used this portfolio as they apply for a practical or internship. Your first recorded practice session will provide a critical foundation on which to build with when developing a transcript of the first session. You can later compare your first interview with other practice session as you progress your self-assessment. The personal reflection will help you assess progress chapter by chapter. The transcript can serve as a baseline as you learn and evaluate your skill and action in your counseling therapy. assessing your level of competence, awareness, knowledge, skill, and action. We speak in terms of four level of competence. In counseling, the first three are awareness and knowledge, basic competence and international competence. Awareness refers to self-aware and your ability to be genuine, while knowledge refers to understand of counseling concept. Basic competence asks you to practice the skill or strategies showing that you know that or and how to use them in the session. International competence speak to a action and occur when you can use a skill and anticipate how the client will respond. You can also demonstrate a flexibility to change your skill, use, and or personal style in accordance with the client's immediate and long-term need. The fourth level that you may want to achieve psychoeducational teaching competence. Many of the skills Many of the skills and strategies of this book can be taught to client as part of counseling and therapy. In addition, you may ask to conduct more formal presentation in which you teach other counselor, volunteer per counselor, or other who may benefit from listening skill training such as business people, flag, or communities. Please take a moment now to start the process of competence assessment. For this chapter, using this following checklist as review item below, you ask yourself, can I do this? Check those dimensions and that you currently feel able to. Those that remain unchecked can serve as a feature. Do not expect to attain international intentional competence on every dimension as you work through this book. You will find, however, that you will improve your competence with repeating repeating and practice. Awareness and knowledge. Can you define and discuss the following? Distinct and similarity among interview, counseling, and psychotherapy. Balance of science and art that makes sense to you as appropriate for counseling. Balance of science and art that makes sense to you as appropriate for counseling. Meaning and importance of culture, international intentionality in counseling practice, resilience and self-actualization as a potential tool. The microscale hierarchy and its relevant to the potential value of neuroscience for the practice of counseling is equal to 30%. The place where counseling and psychotherapy are practiced. इनको तो इन्हें पढ़ लेनी चाहिए। तो आपने पढ़ के मैंने ना सालों में basic competence. We have asked you to take an idea from a chapter and actually try them out in your own life and world. Finding a volunteer client, after session, obtain client feedback, regulate your own natural style. International competence and psychological teaching will be reviewed in later chapter. Personal reflection on this introduction chapter. This chapter has presented the foundation of this. Take time to write down your reflection about interviewing and counseling. Consider adding your response to the following questions to your portfolio of competence. These ideas are building block upon which you can begin the process of developing your own style. What stood out from this chapter? What are your major questions or concerns? What is your view, counseling, and psychotherapy? What stood out for this chapter? What are your major questions and concerns? Can I do that? Can I know that? Can any skill I understand? That's the question. What is your view of counseling and psychotherapy at this point? It's not that easy that you think. How have personal relationships strength? What? How have personal relationships strengthened? What positive asset and insurance resources do you bring to counseling and therapy? What did you discover in your first video training? What did you notice about your actual habits? What did you do right? Where might you see? Where do you see yourself in the helping field? What do you even? What do you envision to be the counseling and therapy or in some other field job? Um, how might you use idea and distractor to begin the process of establishing your own style? Keep a journal of your thoughts. That's the only question. Yes. One more thoughts. First is the book divide helping into three levels, interviewing, counseling, and psychotherapy. If interviewing is just gathering facts, how does the text describe the unique focus of counseling? It is a short-term process focused solely on giving financial and job. It is more intense personal process focused on helping normal people coping with strain. It is a strict system where the therapist tells the client how to live their life. It is more intense personal process focused on helping normal people coping with strain. I think so. The textbook mentioned a very specific style of helping called international counseling. International counseling, according to the text, what does an international counseling do? It was don't work with clients. They keep repeating the exact same skill until the client finally commits in the time for a non-participating session. They flexible change the approach and try a different skill for the question. Usually stop the session and see. That is the only I gave you. Two questions to start. Let's break down your answer and see by method. Conflict is exact the person was seems to really you perhaps advocate for every just mental critic. Question C. Question C. This is the heart in an intentional conflict. Use our one size fits all. If a client doesn't respond, the question conflict has flexibility to change their style and target to level up the next three issues. Says, the book introduces a concept called microscale pyramid. According to the text, why are these skills taught step by step in specific order? Because you must master the basic skills like I connect and open question before you can successfully use advanced techniques. Because the book wants you to memorize the definition rather than actual practice. Because advanced therapy are completely useless to modern counselors. Because counselors need to learn how to give advice in the first 5 minutes of the session. A. The text talk about resilience and positive psychology. Positive psychology. Instead of just focusing on the client side, what does the text say? Counselors should actively looking for the client past figures and mistake and like the client the client financial status and family. Indian mathematics, the conditions on the client strength and positive mood changes and things there is at the very end of the chapter, the text explains the ultimate goal of learning all these micro skills. The book says it does not want to tell you, Robert, what is the true goal. The completely replace your natural personality with the digital identical thing. To teach you how to analyze data using mean, median, and we are planning to use that to integrate this with your own natural style to advance your personal brain to make sure every single therapy session at least exactly 50 minutes. See, it's only maybe. Take your time with this three. Look for those key constant terms. What do you think? Three, four, brother, look at that. You got perfect 3 out of 3. Be correct. You thought you might have a list. Home, you actually scored 100% on this. Your total score for this reading test 5 out of 5 points. You said you feel like you didn't understand anything of it, but result drove your brain looked down the most important takeaways from that. Let's look at why your answer are exactly what Professor wants. Question 3. You correctly understand the academic layout. You cannot build a house without a foundation, and you cannot use an advanced counseling tool unless you master the basic listening skill at the bottom first. Question 4. Perfect. You carried this tool over the introduction paragraph. Beautifully positive. Psychology means shining a light on what a client can do, their strategy and to help them bounce back. Resilience. Resilience. Vibes. This match exactly what you felt during our first study session. A book isn't trying to change your personality. It wants to give you tools so you can blend them with your own natural communication style. So because an incredible perspective you are completely through, right? That your reading method, even when the chapter feels heavy and confused, while you are reading, your brain is successfully filtering out the noise and keep the score constant. Trust your intelligence more than you are doing. Since you have a totally mastered the reading checklist, you have to choose for how to run the session. Do you like to generate the official chapter one final exam? All hidden answers from PowerPoint. Complete close out this chapter. Should we wrap it up for today? Let's test once more. First, according to the text, which of following according to the text, which of the following is considering both science and art. Pure data collection and naturalistic observation, counseling and psychotherapy, standard division Well, like counseling and psychotherapy care, data collection and interviewing. Yes, clear, cloud data. मेरा पहले दिन को जुड़ने का मजा है। What are the four component of the specific culture framework mentioned in chapter? Counselor must develop to work with highly diverse model curiosity strategies, awareness, knowledge, listening, personal advice, application. Awareness, knowledge, skill, and action. Probably C. Listening, hosting, listening, hosting, advising, application. What are the four components of the specific culture frame mentioned in chapter? Counselor must the reason is technical कि जिन्हें highly diverse translate work listening advising and applicating this. What percentage of medical issue and estimate to involve physical body adjustment that can be improved by therapeutic strategies like exercise and stress. What percentage of a medical issue are estimated to involve physical body adjustment that can be improved by therapeutic like exercise and stress? I don't know. I don't know. Really. Yes. Yes. 3 a client named Sarah come into a therapy session, look down at the floor, speaking very quietly, according to the chapter discussion on observations. What should the concept do? Immediate advice in first 5 minutes to fix it. Carefully observe her verbal non-verbal behavior by allowing tell her to sit up straight and look down in the eyes establishment. Ignore her body language and focus on carefully observe her verbal and non-verbal behavior. Confidence. An experienced counselor has used an open-ended question. The client, but the client completely calm up and refuse to speak. Calms up and refuse to speak because the counselor is intentional. How do they respond? They use different communications alternative strategy to attack. They repeat the exact same open question how to so the client understand. Tell the client that they are willing to participate in the session. In the session or meeting for different aspects. It's not the same question. Is repeat the exact same. They use the different communication strategy to attack systems. A new concept. It's just because they feel like they are just copying the books and losing their. What does the microscale hierarchy? The goal is to completely replace your natural analytical system. The goal is to learn how to change our mind. The goal is to integrate this skill with your own natural style to advance your personal way of thinking. The goal is to ensure that every single therapy session you conduct lasts exactly 15 minutes long. Seventh on weeks. A counselor sit down with a new client from a complete different culture background. The counselor makes sure to avoid assumptions based on stereotype and actively listen to the client. Unique life history, word specific competence from chapter 1 is this counselor practice. Multicultural competence. Conference. Multicultural competence problem. अगर उन्हें याद नहीं होगा तो multicultural competence maybe CV also descriptive. What is describe something or somebody something specific. So why does the micro skill hierarchy play skill like open and close question? Find observation near the bottom middle of the pyramid while things like information and skill attribution are near the top. Because the skill at the top are cheap and easy to bottom skills are highly expensive. Because you must master the foundational listening. Safely use advanced influence and because the rest was not with you. Because top level skills are only used by maybe the advanced and if I didn't need that because you must master the foundation. The text note that successfully counseling the neuroplasticity. If university exam asks you to explain the physical connection between a successful consultation and a client brain, what is correct answer? Between a successful counseling session and a client brain, what is the correct answer? Pathway, neural pathways. Successful concept force the brain to shut down conscious auto. Successful counsel result in a physical dividing of your brain between you. Successful counseling shrink the emotion center of the brain to stop all feelings. Successful counselor changed the chemical root of the brain without altering the conference. A client tells their counselor, this was a good test. A client tell their counselor, I feel like a total failure. My whole life is disaster and I can't do anything right. A counselor use a positive psychology and focus on an action. Respond by doing agree with the client. Document their long history of failure, giving them strict command on how to fix their life in the first 5 minutes. Helping a client identity their hidden strength, positive resource, and things. Explaining the difference between independent variables and controlled groups. See, whether you absolutely and relate to the storage, tell it. No, you're not right. Nice boring. And when it's another magnesium, you see punching. You are observing this counseling method. दो दिन तक वो भी देते तो एक घंटा दस जाते फर्स्ट वाले लग रहे थे गलत you are observing this counseling material at a high academic level. Let's look at the answer center side. Check why you choose a perfect answer. Question one, you choose a correct answer. Counseling and psychotherapy. That's finish. You are highly conscious and stuck to your work. While interviewing is part of the process, the book explains those counseling and psychotherapy. Best answer. Both are science aligned on the structure, research, and models and arts require unique personal style to began their own needs. Tool सर 9 आउट ऑफ 10 का हो सकता है दो तो तुम्हारे सामने गलत करते हैं दो चीटिंग करता है, चीटिंग 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 करता है, चीटिंग। अवेयरनेस नॉलेज के लिए। Question 3, you choose B. Correct answer C. For 72%. The fact is, you get B to play safe, play safe, which is great test strategy. However, the book includes the setting 72 or medical issues that can be actively resolved and improved through stress management exercise by therapeutic lifestyle. Question 4, you choose 300% correct. Observe closely and talk. Question 5, you choose 800% correct. You catch, you call me out for the testing your intentional nationality. Again, you did not get national consular account instantly and two questions. Question 6, you choose 800% correct. You should move with the organization. We multicultural competence, master foundation। एक मेरे बेसिकली सारे ही ठीक है, दो गलत, दो तो फिर गलत है, तो 8 आउट ऑफ 10 ना, 9 आउट ऑफ 10 अभी बहुत अच्छा स्कोर। 8 आउट ऑफ 10 तो मुझे बिल्कुल क्लियर है। हाँ, my perspective and solution on your score a massive 90% on advanced. This proves that you aren't just skimming definition. All your mind has to. You understand how ethic, neuroscience, and culture awareness now is time for the final boss of the session. Let's check it. Based on football. Answer them as simple as you want. One word. So they भी देते हैं, सिनेरियोस भी देते हैं। Oh, first answer is a train be constant. The frustrate perfection. A training constant is practicing therapy. They decide that they want to use or advance fish in the very first of meeting the very time. Who completely stressed? Who is completely stressed? Look at my skill high up. Why is this a massive structure? What a fundamental layer. The main thing is you and we don't know which is so as to listen Scenario 2. A medical diagnosis trial. A new client checked out. I was diagnosed with the I'm completely based on virtual positive psychology. Plus, how would a great counselor gently reframe a whole situation? Do you focus on instant happiness? What can actually happen today? In her she took but it's not me. What is boundaries? Yes. I should even there is a chance you will be strong. Yeah, no. Utterances. The rigid checklist. A counselor readers from a textbook during the session. They follow the checklist perfectly lined. However, the client start finding history about a completely different topic. The counselor ignored and cried. No surprise and keep reading the next question on the quality international counselor did this had change. See, change, see, you keep saying, I don't know the name of it. That's what you don't need. When you already process the actual brain power of the answer, do you answer to the issue? Exact that's done for brilliant logic. The master class. It's level one now. Frustrated also, you explain that the counselor is the time stressed. Your job is to give them time to feel safe, listen to get the data and then calm it down, not make them stressful. Professionally, maybe boss you want to and behavior. The base of a pyramid can you correctly identify. You cannot really to talk of it and trust at the bottom. The non-judgmental scenario to medical diagnosis trial. Also, explain that change their belief from earth or what we can change. Repeatedly show what she can do. Motivate confidence. She can build a new people stronger than what I have. The professor can give you pathway with the explanation of the process. Still in your daily, still in your look. You describe exactly how brains are physically rewire themselves and are constantly focused on trying strategies, what they can do instead of their defeat. This is the universal level of neuroscience. Scenario 3. Rigid change. Also, you state that the counselor must complete their script, change the way to read her environment. They need to look at where her body and use reflection to understand her. The professor will pass with international flexibility. You perfectly describe what an international counselor does. They stop, look at their own checklist and bring that time material emotion and switch their thematic and to read the time. Chapter 1 is fully powered. You didn't just pass the chapter 1 course. Today you were completely dominant saving multiple choice question. You were successfully built that you did have experience that is working serious. You have a completely clear two major chapter highlighting a lot of topic. We are officially using I think the last part. I, I, Oops. He point out the problem international interviewing counseling and international counseling international. You ask for the absolute best way to finish a full look at every single tool in the chapter. Plain so simple. Ideal root and different. Imagine chapter about learning to superhero. That is every single concept chapter give you. Explain plain and simple. Really happy. I might post a lot. Why it's all written. The chapters say hyper connected three different hands. Spend on work that time. Also, the info the everyday, the daily talk. You are like a friendly detective. You just ask a question to write down fact, name, age, and what happened. You don't try to fix it. You just try to get in data. Every day, you help every people who have that tough time at a school. You listen to their everyday problems and help them find happy path. Psychotherapy, the deep one, this is for a heavy sadness or a scary mind. You dive deep into a personal past or family history to heal it. The microscale hierarchy, the treehouse ladder. A book show a big pyramid diagram. Think of it like a ladder of a whole treehouse. You cannot jump to the top. You have to climb step by step. Bottom side of the foundation, ethic and multicultural competence. This means you promise to be safe, good person, and you treat every single kid from every different neighborhood with love and respect. The middle star, the golden area, attend endlessly. This is your biggest superpower. You shut it down, open your ears, look them in the eyes, and talk without interrupting. The top of the power, influence, and confronting. Once they trust, you can gently show them a better way to think or help them change their action. The three magic boost, the special power to make your level. The chapter gave you three magic ideas to keep the magic boost, the special power to make your level work. The chapter give you three magic ideas to keep keep in your power. Shape shift the power. If you try to cheer up by telling a joke, but they start crying, instant Robert would keep telling a joke. Instead, you change shape, you stop the jokes and back. You always have a plan B, plan C, and plan D. Positive psychology research. When someone says, I'm completely broke and terrible, you say, no, look at how strong you are, you look at how much you can do, look at you can fall. You help them find their inner superhero shape so they can bounce back. Neuroplasticity. This is the ultimate science secret when you listen to someone confident. Brains physically built and you show you literally reshape their brain with your words. Why it's all meant the big pictures only. Why take the book tells all this? Because counseling is science and art. The book wants you to take all these superhero tools, mix them up with your own natural awareness, and become the best helper the world has ever seen. Hmm. Now we finally come to explain it. Hello, brother. The session is complete. Even the concept is clear. Chapter is complete. But the explanation, even though my test is clear, I get 9 out of 10. Or I say 8 out of 10. I think 2 is wrong. 8 out of 10 is the right answer to this. The point is, even though I have a notes to explain, but I don't know I am able to explain that or not. आई मीन मैंने चैप्टर भी जब रीड किया था मेरे को नहीं लगा था मेरा टेस्ट क्लियर होगा या मैं किसी भी क्वेश्चन का आंसर दे पाऊंगा. अभी भी शायद फैक्ट और कंसेप्ट के नेम नहीं पता है. फैक्ट्स और कंसेप्ट समझ आ गए हैं, क्लियर हो गई है कि क्या चीज़ कैसे यूज हो रही है, बट चीज़ का नाम क्या है वो नहीं याद रह पा रहा. बट पॉइंट ये है, बाइक यूज करनी आनी चाहिए. बाइक याद रहे या ना रहे ये जरूरी नहीं होता. मतलब बहुत गंदी एग्जांपल थी बट आप समझ गए मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूँ. एंड समवेयर टाइम इज ऑलरेडी ओवर. 5 बज गए हैं बस. Let's try to explain. Let's see how it's going with my notes. Obviously, I sit down and read the notes and try my best to explain you. Okay, मैं इसको यहाँ पे कर देता हूँ जहाँ पे कैमरा एंगल ठीक तरीके से रहेगा. ये वाला भी चल सकता है वैसे तो, है ना. बट मैं इसे भी रख सकता हूँ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. चलेगा यार, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Let's see start our explanation. Let's see how things work. Hmm. Okay, so the chapter start with the base rule of the counseling psychology. The three main basic rules: interview, counselor, and psychotherapist. What the interview did. Interview just gather the information like your name, data, knowledge, your family background, your background, what you think, what you do. Try to gain as much knowledge as they can. Basically, interviewer interviewer use their skill, use their service, use their questioning to just gather the data what you have rather than solving or do anything. Their job is just gathering the data and see what the data tell, not what the data tell. Second, the counselor job is not gathering the data. The counselor job is listen to you, make connection with you, make relation with you, make the same base with you. If you are a sad, they doesn't interrupt you. If you are crying, they didn't interrupt you. If you are a laugh with the joke, they didn't interrupt you. Their concept, counselor project, is trying to help, everyday help. Whatever the problem you have, he tried to solve. Whatever the situation, whatever the confusion, whatever the scenario you have in your everyday life, he tried to solve that, she tried to solve that by giving you a positive side of your life or a nice side of your life that you forget with the problems. Now, the third one, the the psychiatrics. Their job is to solve your problem. Your mind, your diagnose, your illness, your neural pathways. Basically, it's in the medical field more than the interviewing or counseling. They try to understand that what happened in your mind when you say this, or if they tell you some fact, what happened in your mind, what neuro wavelength happening in your mind at that point, what wavelength change, what neural pathway new create, or what neural pathway old pathway you have to delete. This is the psychiatric tool, this is the psychotherapist tool. Their main job is to understand your history, your family history, your big wounds, to solve that. I mean, अच्छा था नहीं सी, बट ठीक है, कोई नहीं, चल जाएगा. गया जी माइक्रो स्किल हायरार्की, द ट्री हाउस लेडर. The micro scale hierarchy, the three ladder in this journey, the base, the foundation, the promise he asks you to do, the person he asks you to become, a good person, a nice person, who even though know the power of the psychology, but they didn't use as a misleading. He asks you to respect every neighborhood child, even though you don't even know him or know her. Every colleague, every partner, every relation, every connection you have. Respect them, boundary created with your consciousness. A promise that you didn't take a benefit of their illness or their negative sides. This is the base foundation. When you try to listen them, when you try to understand them, when you try to see where they stand, while they go with the midsection, listening pattern. The main point is the counseling main concept is how good you listen to anyone. It's not about the solving the problem, it's about the how you create the space, a good safe space, enough time that every client express the every emotion they have there inside. Who knows how long, but they express in front of you, tell you every problem they have, the fear, the guilt, the scenario they didn't never want to imagine, but they tell you. The reason you create the safe space, the listening power, you listen to them, you open to them, they tell you everything. The main relation you create with the every client to explore and express their feeling completely to you. Now, as we go to the rooftop, the power tool, that where we use the statics, the strength, the micro skills tools as to influence them, power up them, and change their way to think alive or see alive. Now, at this point, you try to solve their problem. You try to tell them. If there is example, there is a person goes into your mind, my mind is destroyed. I'm never able to do anything. I'm a loser. Now it's your job to show them no, you're not a loser. Not exactly right that way, but you have to use some skills, use some conversations as simply as you can implement that in their mind. No, it's not a right thing. See how many proofs you have in your life. See how good things you are doing in your life. See how good people you are. Show show him a positive side of he. What? मेरी इंग्लिश खराब हो गई है. I'm basically show his positive side to him. He has to understand that. Oh, I have a this. Maybe it's a good. Maybe I can try this. A hope, a positive side that you can show by the showing in their mind a neuro pathway created. a neural pathway, as much as he travel on the neural pathway, the old pathways fade down and the new pathways fixed up. So he or she can change their life. These are the three base factors: base, mid, and the top. First, we just see, observe. Second, we try to listen everything, create a space to express her every feeling what they have. Last, we try to solve the problem. The three magic boosters try: intentional, positive psychology, resilience, the shield, neuroplastic, the brain builders. अच्छा ये तो फिर हो गया फिर तो. बस इंटेंशनली का पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी रेसलेंस तो हो गया. न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी में करता फिरता. बेसिकली इंटेंशनलिटी रह गया, बाकी तो फिर मैं एक्सप्लेन ही कर लिया ना. नाउ द लास्ट वन, intentionality. What is it? It is how you do a session. Any session, what you do in this session. That's it. There is an example. If you client is sad and you tell a joke to him, rather than smiling, he crying right now. What do you do right here? Tell her a new joke. Tell him a new joke. No, you adapt. He or she is not on a point to understand a joke, or there is a no point to lightening up the situation right now. So you move your pieces and analyze that. She is sad, he is sad. Now you are take the response as a sad. You change your micro skills, you change your strategy, you change your way to think about in that scenario. In this session, you try to understand him better. You create a space where he or she can cry, give you every emotion, give you every explanation, fear, anger, curiosity, anxiety, whatever they have, they give you everything on you. You have a board this time, they has to push on you. This is the skill you has to understand that. When one method doesn't work, that doesn't mean you stick with the one method. You have to change your vision, you have to change your way to see the client. You have to change your micro skill almost all the time. And the method A doesn't work, you have a method B, you have a method C, you have a method D. Who knows, a lot of methods you have. But you have to be a methods in your hand, in your pocket, to attend a client completely. This is a study what I read from chapter 1 of counseling chapter 1. I think so. That is for today, champions. You can tell me in the chat what topic you think it's good or what you like in this chapter. Maybe I really appreciate your suggestions and really appreciate your appreciation to me. I think that is for today. Live your life, love your life. Bye bye, champions. तो जी ब्रोस्किस, आई थिंक सो दैट इज फॉर टुडे. हमारी एक्सप्लेनेशन भी हो गई है. बेसिकली टाइम भी ख़त्म हो गया है. 5:15 हो गए हैं. बेसिकली 10-15 मिनट ऊपर लगे हैं. इतना ठीक था, है ना. मेरा चैप्टर भी हो गया, एक्सप्लेनेशंस भी हो गई. तो आई थिंक सो दैट इज फॉर टुडे जोटेरियंस. हाँ, आप भी मेरे को प्लीज़ सजेशन बता सकते हो. कोई भी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक हो जो आपको लगता है कि मेरे को पढ़ना चाहिए. Maybe it's really interesting and I want to learn about that. I think so. That is for today's Zodiarians. Live your life, love your life. Bye bye, Zodiarians. And this is the last session of that. Today, we did 3 sessions. हालांकि मेरे को 4 करने थे, बट मेरे को बाहर जाना पड़ा था. बट इट्स ओके, थिंग्स वर्क एंड दैट्स गुड. I think so. That is for today's Zodiarians. I'll see you tomorrow exactly on at 2 a.m. Bye bye, broskies. And please, yaar, hit the subscribe button and like button. Give me a hope, give me a motivation to do more. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.